And this new bill is dubbed the right to disconnect, and it could force New York City employers to stop contacting their workers after hours. The bill is based on a similar law in France. So would this actually work in the Big Apple? Here to weigh in is New York City Councilman Joe Borelli. Joe, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So we saw some lights there in the live shot, people hard at work here in New York City, but apparently there's this right to disconnect bill. We can bring it up for people at home so they get an idea of some of what's in it. And it basically says that it would be illegal for employers to contact employees after hours.
Right, and managers would be punished if they keep continuously emailing their employees, making them do work. Let's start with the positive, right? You know, France has this law implemented, and they are still number 7 in the world in terms of productivity of their workers. And I think there's a case to be made for some hourly workers. If you're someone paid for, $10 an hour, $20 an hour, and you're not being paid for those weekend hours that you're putting in with the emails, there's probably a case. But as you saw in the picture, people work in this city 24 hours a day, and there are some big salaries because we have some big multinational companies that are here. Those companies have big buildings, and all of this is driving the New York economy, and it's the reason why our city budget is 7 times bigger than our nearest competitor.
Yeah.
These companies do not want to be, basically boxed in by some silly city council rules that basically would not allow managers to reach out to their employees over the weekend. We're a city that exists in a 24/7 global marketplace.
And it's not just New York City either. I mean, this is happening in cities all over the country where people are working more and more.
Yeah, and look, part of the reason is because we have phones. Our phones don't know when to disconnect and when not to, when to browse Facebook and when to do work emails. And that's part of the flexibility what technology actually allows us to do. But in France, you could see they're even struggling to implement these laws.
And it's not helping with productivity.
No, and there were some studies. So 50 to 75% of French companies that are covered by the law don't even comply with it, don't have any behavioral change whatsoever. Another company, Securex, a big EU HR firm, said that 8 out of 10 managers, rather, are still using their emails on the weekend. And probably the most shocking for what we think of French employees, 1/3 of French workers actually check their email over their month-long August break. So this is just the government trying to implement some reforms to regulate the hours that people can work. I am not qualified to tell people what the right balance is between work and leisure, and I don't think the full city council of our city should be doing the same thing as a government body.
So it's like government regulation, government getting involved again with individuals trying to tell you when you should or should not work, and also companies and telling companies how they should and what they should do. Right.
So this all comes from the El Khomeini laws, who was Françoise Hollande's socialist minister of labor, and she believed that government should be regulating the balance between work and life. Again, I am not qualified to go and turn to any one of the viewers right now and say, I know better than you what the right balance is for you and your family. And yet here we have the City Council of New York trying to make these regulations. And the big companies of the world, the JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries, they're not going to want to be told that their employees can't be contacted when there's some issue on the German stock market or whatever the case may be.
Right, yeah.
They don't want these type of regulations.
The same goes for journalists. I mean, we have to be working pretty much 24 hours a day. When we're not here, we're monitoring what is happening and answering emails.
Right. Someone had to reach out to me on Sunday for me to be here today.